to us, and I really do appreciate that. You can also stream us on iHeartRadio. We are also the home of the Tampa Bay Rays. They are in action tonight against the Blue Jays, 6:40, first pitch. I'm just glad the Baltimore series is behind us. Thank God. That was a rough series. I want to talk a little bit more about the Buccaneers. I want to get more, Tim, I know you watched the All-22, and I know that you were in the recruiting department and scouting department over at Florida, so I want to get your thoughts on a couple players and just things that you noticed on the tape. But I also wanted to talk about Vita Vea because I had read a couple things on Vita Vea. Now, I know he was out of practice today. He was wearing team gear. And him
okay.
Sorry,
I just said okay.
Yeah, he was wearing team gear. Because the other day it was reported that he wasn't wearing team gear. He wasn't even wearing team colors. And it was reported that players will do this as a protest. As like, hey, we're not part of the team. I'm not going to wear your colors. I'm not going to wear your logo until you pay me. And that was the report that finally took me over the line. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not Team Glazers over Team Vea. I'm not. I'm never going to side with ownership over a player. But at some point, something needs to break here in this game of chicken, which is the Buccaneers are doing the right thing. Tell us, you telling me this guy's going to pass on $1 million game checks? I don't know if I see that happening. But he's starting to be a little bit of a distraction in practice. I would like for Vita Vea not to be the headline every single day out at Bucs training camp. What is he wearing? What is he doing? Does his back hurt? His back doesn't hurt. His back looks just fine. He was out at training camp today comparing his wingspan to another defensive lineman. They were literally belly to belly, arms fully stretched out to see who had a bigger wingspan. Be careful because I don't want you to hurt your back when you're doing that.
Got to use a lot of back muscles when you make that gesture.
Right? But the reports the other day about him not wearing the team colors and that players will do that as a protest, I'm like, God damn. Like, let's just stop with making the distractions at practice. I'd like to talk about other things. And I would like to be talking about Vita Vea, the football player, not Vita Vea, the guy who's not getting what he wants. And so, again, I don't side with ownership because I do believe he is underpaid, but he's also the guy that did sign that deal, and he should honor that contract. But I also get him wanting job security beyond this year. And I don't know if the Buccaneers are ever going to give it to him. So at some point, something needs to be done on one side or the other. And I get why the Bucs aren't going to trade him because it doesn't make sense for the Buccaneers to trade him. Because we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. The comp pick is possibly available for them. Could be a fourth rounder, could be as high as a third rounder. It all depends how it works out. Comp picks are weird. Essentially, if they don't replace somebody, if they don't replace Vita of somebody of his caliber, they could get a third round pick. So therefore, they're not going to trade him for a third round pick. I think they are trying to get a second-round pick for Vita Vea. And I believe if somebody is willing to give them one, I think they take that offer because I think they're ready for the distraction to be done. But the report of him not wearing the team gear, that was kind of, I guess, the end point for me. Where can we get this settled and figured out by the end of next week? And if Vita Vea is going to, here's what I don't like. If you're not going to participate in practice, he shows up and holds in so he doesn't get a fine. Why not just, if you don't, I think the rule should be, and I know it's probably part of the negotiations and not something that can happen. If you're not going to participate, to me, you should be fined.
Agreed.
Like, I don't understand why he can continue to show up, get paid, but not do the job. Like, if I come here to the building, but I don't do the job, I'm not going to get paid. Like, I can't just walk into the building, sit down at my desk, and just be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I can't come onto the airwaves and just be silent.
Yeah.
Some people might appreciate that, but if I do that, I'm not going to get paid. I got a job to do.
Exactly. Well, the other thing I wonder about, too, is I wonder if he shows up for team meetings, he goes to those, he goes to the workouts, but he just will not practice. Because if he does that, that's a good portion of the job, but the practicing part is arguably the biggest.
No, I agree. Here's the thing. It's like you have the situation with Baker, but Baker's handled it completely different because Baker's repeated himself on all ball. He's participating. Baker's not being a distraction in practice. He's part of the team. Baker cares about this team. Baker's not just going to sit out and be like, all right, I'm not playing. Baker's going out there to try to earn himself the next contract. Vita Vea, not that guy. And that's why I just tend to – that's why I really like Baker Mayfield, the player, so much. Because you know he cares about this team. He might have his differences with ownership. He might believe he deserves more money. But at the end of the day, he's going to put the team first. And he's going to do what's best for the team because he knows these guys have no shot if he's not playing.
Exactly.
Now, Vita Vea, on the other hand, he's handling it completely different. He's more about himself. He wants to take care of himself. He doesn't care about the team. If he did, he'd be out there playing for the other 52 players. And I get both sides of it because the Bucs can't just hand him a new contract because then you're going to have players holding out every single year, and you can't set the tone that you're just going to pay everyone that sits out.
That's the hardest part of this whole situation.
It really is. But I would like a resolution to be done by the end of next week. Either tell Vita Vea, don't show up anymore unless you're going to practice. Like, don't just come here and be doing nothing. Or give him the raise so we can move on with this. Because I don't understand how this is going to play out. But right now, it is a distraction, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. To have this guy just constantly on the sidelines, taking up all the attention. You got players out here fighting for their jobs and their careers. Meanwhile, Vita's like, and here's the thing. The sports world has gotten so out of hand with money that these players are so unrelatable to the real world. Like, I'm supposed to care that he's not making more than $18 million. Like, the person in their car right now who's on their lunch break at their hard-ass construction job is supposed to care Vita Vea's not making more than $18 million. These guys live in a world that we just don't live in, we don't relate to, and unfortunately, every decision in sports is all about money, and the average person like me and you we just can't relate.
Well, and now the fact that Roger Goodell says it's all but certain there's going to be an NFL team overseas, it's getting way out of hand. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's kind of silly, too, because you're going to have teams going to London every single week. What are we going to have, 9 a.m. games every single week, too?
God, I hope not.
I hope that doesn't happen. The international games are bad enough, let alone having an international team.
But to Vita's point, you're right. It is getting ridiculous. It is getting out of hand. I said yesterday I would give him the extension of $28 to $30 million, 3 years, with that third final year being a fluff deal. Would you sign in for that?
There's the thing, though. It's like if they pay him, is this going to be a reoccurring thing with every single player every year who wants more money?
Well, as long as
are you willing to pay him that's top-notch money for interior defensive linemen.
That's top 4, top 5. Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, look at what he's done and what he's able to do. As I said, Vita Vea, guys like Vita Vea do not grow on trees. You can't just teach size like Vita.
No, you're right. And here's the thing: is like he's going to help Yaya Diaby and Reuben Baines so much by drawing that double coverage in the middle. There's nobody else on this roster that can do that. The run defense the other night was pretty poor.
It really was.
That's a sign of things to come without Vita Vea. And I know a lot of the starters weren't out there, so I'm not really worried about it. But the run defense was poor with the backups out there against the New York Jets. But I just want a resolution to all of this. Like, how is this going to end? Is it going to end in a trade? Is he just going to like how does this play out if he decides he's not going to play in games? Is he still going to be at practice every day? Is he going to be on the sidelines during a game, not dressed? I mean, how is this going to work? You're not going to fly with the team.
If both sides don't get what they want, if the Bucs don't get Vita for what the Bucs want, and Vita doesn't get the extension or the trade, I think what's going to end up happening, which is going to suck, is that after the third preseason game, Vita will finally start practicing and do all that and actually play the games because the game checks and fines are just ridiculous.
Yeah, he'd be giving up $1 million checks. That's about what each game check's going to be. And I agree with you. I could get by. I mean, it's not my money, but I could see his value being he's one of the top interior defensive linemen. He deserves to be up there. I get it, but he's the one that signed this 4-year deal. No one forced him to sign 4 years, $72 million. He chose to, and I get wanting some security for next year. But now with the interior defensive lineman market, he's probably wanting close to 30. I wouldn't hesitate to give him that this year. I think he can play at that level. It's what is he beyond this year? The decline on interior defensive linemen, I mean, 31, 32, that's usually the peak.
Yeah, so you got another year or two out of him, which is why I think maximum you give him a 3-year deal. But again, it's with the deal totally being front loaded. That would be my suggestion, but it's crazy.
What do Buccaneer fans want? Do you want Vita Vea just gone? Like, are you tired of the antics on the sideline, or do you want the Buccaneers to just cave and pay the guy? 888-388-0957. That is the number. You want to join in on the show. I'm kind of curious where Bucs fans. I believe that Bucs fans are kind of tired of Vita Vea at this point, at least judging by the text line and the text messages coming in. I kind of think we've had enough. And they're ready to move on. And again, I don't want to side with ownership because I don't think ownership is totally in the right either.
Well, I
think both sides have played this really bad.
You're not siding with ownership by saying you don't want to pay him. At least that's my view of it.
I do want to pay him because I want him out there. But if they're not going to pay him, like, we need a resolution than him just coming to practice every day with this fake back injury. Like, it's old. I've had enough of it.